Some exciting medical news. People with diabetes in Canada now have a new tool that can make managing the disease a bit easier. Canada is the first country in the world to approve the new medication. It's a drug which is being sold under the brand name Weekly. Will help adults with type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Joining us to talk about what the medication is, how it works, is Dr. Alana Wiseman, a clinician scientist and an endocrinologist at Mount Sinai Center for Diabetes. Welcome.
Hi, Anne-Marie. Thanks so much for having me.
So as the name states, you take it weekly instead of daily. How does the medication distribute differently to patients?
So a weekly has a special formulation. It's designed to bind tightly to proteins in the body. Therefore, it forms a reservoir, and then insulin can slowly release from this reservoir, allowing it to have continuous action over 1 week.
We have people with diabetes in our family, and I mean, this is a game changer for them. How else do you see it changing the lives of patients, in particular around lifestyle?
So I think a lot of people, particularly with type 2 diabetes, are hesitant to start insulin once it's recommended for managing their blood sugars. This can be because of anxiety or fear of injections, or even just the burden of having to do an injection every day. And so I think minimizing the number of injections and needing it only once per week will really reduce the burden and a lot of the barriers to starting insulin, particularly for those with type 2 diabetes, which is really exciting.
And how is it administered? Is the needle the same? Are there any changes?
It generally is the same type of device as all of the insulins people would already be familiar with. So it would be an injection that's self-administered, typically using what's called an insulin pen, and that would be administered once per week by the patient at home.
What excites you about this?
I think it's really exciting because up until now, people with diabetes would have to take insulin at least once per day. And as I said, it's not uncommon for people to forget to take those injections, and that can really have a negative impact on their blood sugars. So having this option, a much more convenient option, I think will really improve the care we can provide for people. And with this new era of other weekly injectable medications in diabetes and beyond, such as the really popular GLP-1 receptor agonists, I think we have this growing popularity and recognition of these weekly injections. And so it's really taking on momentum.
We know the clinical trials of this drug were done on adult patients who had either type 2 or type 1 diabetes. Who benefits most from it?
Yeah, so as you stated, it is approved for adults in Canada. So as of now, we're not using it in children. It is approved in Canada for both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. There have been some more concerns in type 1 diabetes in the studies that were done, particularly with the risk of the blood sugars going too low, or what we call hypoglycemia. So this risk does seem to be higher in people with type 1 diabetes. That being said, it can be used perhaps with some more discretion at the physician and in discussion with the patient. But certainly in type 2 diabetes, I think this will be more broadly used.
If patients are listening to this story, they're very excited by this idea, where can they go for more information?
So I would recommend they talk to their prescriber, whether that's a physician or other healthcare provider who they see primarily for diabetes care. And they could also speak with their pharmacist if they're interested in more information.
And any side effects, doctor?
The side effects would be very similar to all of the insulins we're used to and have a lot of experience with. As you know, Canada is the birthplace of insulin, so we have a lot of experience with insulin, and the side effects are really very similar. The main one being what I mentioned, that risk of the blood sugar going too low, or what we call hypoglycemia, which we try our best to avoid with appropriate dosing and counseling.
This affects a lot of our seniors population as well, some of whom are on a fixed income. So what about the pricing or coverage of the medication?
Yeah, so as it's brand new to Canada, and as you mentioned, Canada is the first country in the world to launch, which we're very excited about. Details about pricing and coverage from the government plans and insurance providers, I think, will be forthcoming. But as of now, we know pricing is expected to be very similar to that of a daily insulin. So if you look over the average week, because this medication is dosed weekly, we don't expect it to be more expensive than being on a daily insulin.
A world first happening in Canada, and as you say, the birthplace of insulin. It's pretty exciting news indeed. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Wiseman.
Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.